Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our May Town Council meeting. We are glad to have you. We're going to go ahead and get started. We are going to start with our invocation by Councilor Morgan.
Join me as we pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you and praise you for the freedoms we have, the freedom to vote, and the freedom to gather in these chambers tonight. Thank you for your hedge of protection that surrounds us. I ask that you guide us in all the things that we deliberate on, and that you guard us from those things that separate us and strengthen us and those things that unite us. Guide us now and direct us as we deliberate and decide matters here tonight. It is by your will I ask these things. Amen.
Amen. Tonight, we are pleased to be joined by Simon and Tanaya, students at Lockhart Elementary School who recently competed in the school's spelling bee. The spelling bee at Lockhart Elementary School starts in homeroom. Each homeroom class has a spell-off to find the representative that will compete in the school-wide spelling bee. Simon and Tania are both fourth grade students who won for their class. The school-wide spelling bee had 13 participants, one representative from each homeroom in third, fourth, and fifth grade. Simon and Tania tied for third place in the entire competition. So way to go. Congratulations to both of you for your wonderful accomplishment. So at this time, I would like to ask for you to come forward and lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. Congratulations to you both again. We are so proud of you. Thank you for being here this evening and continue the great work in school. Next is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes to tonight's agenda? Any questions or comments or adoption or motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Majority approves. Motion carries. We will go with the agenda as is. First, presentation, recognitions, and awards. Introduction of new Assistant Town Manager, Mr. Summers.
Thank you, Mayor Day, Council. Tonight, we are welcoming a new Assistant Town Manager. Most of you have gotten to know Antoine a little bit because he has actually been on the scene with us now for a couple weeks. He's had a very steady guiding hand in getting the budget to where it needs to be and kind of onboarding himself here. This is always one of my favorite times when we get to welcome new people. Sometimes we get to welcome to our own department, and that makes it extra special for me. So normally when I've got to present somebody, I'll print out their bio or something, and I make little highlights, right, to remind myself not to miss the marks. Well, I was looking at his, and I pretty much highlighted every line on it. So what I would want folks to know publicly is this, is that the town of Knightdale is growing exponentially. That we are fortunate that we have strong political leadership, that we have excellent staff. Antoine is an extension of that commitment to each other, to our citizens, and to you. 17 years experience in local government, lots of experience here in Wake County with Wake Forest, Holly Springs, and Apex. Antoine and I have had a lot of opportunity to talk. He, Dustin, Suzanne, and I adhere to a very similar belief in how public organizations should behave and serve their citizens. He is coming in at exactly the right time in his career, and he's coming in at exactly the right time for our organization. So this is kind of the official unveiling, but we do welcome Antoine here, and we look forward to his excellence, his leadership, and helping to guide our staff and make our organization even better in the future. Thank you, Mayor Day.
Once again, we welcome you to Knightdale. We are so glad to have you. Thank you for jumping in from day one and bringing your skills here. Hopefully you feel at home with our Knightdale family here. So we love our staff. It's really what builds and supports our community. So glad to have you. Next is NCLM Law Enforcement Risk Review, Chief Capps.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to keep my remarks very brief for this item on the agenda. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce this evening Mr. Joseph Graziano. Mr. Graziano is a senior public safety risk management consultant with the North Carolina League of Municipalities. He's going to come forward, talk to you a little bit about the law enforcement risk review, its importance, and I believe that he has a special presentation as well. Mr. Graziano.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor and the board. I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity tonight to celebrate your police department. As you can see, and next on the agenda, you guys got a lot more to celebrate, and it's for good reason. As Chief had alluded to, my name is Joe Graziano. I'm our senior public safety risk consultant. I'm joined by my colleague, Chet Effler. He's our Western public safety risk consultant. For those of you who don't know what the risk review is, it's a comprehensive agency review of over 40 high liability areas related to law enforcement. As you're aware, they are CLIA accredited, and they'd also just received their state accreditation as well. So it's a very similar process. You know, we look at police pursuits, use of force, employee practices, training, so on, and just basically everything related to claims from the insurance world. The steps in the review include an off-site agency review, comprehensive on-site with interviews of officers and facility inspection, and so on and so forth. I'm proud to report that, to no one's surprise, the Knightdale Police Department has successfully completed this. And to put this into perspective, the League represents a little over 400 police departments across the state. 200 have made the pledge that they would like to complete this process, and we're just around only 90 have completed it. So just kind of put that in perspective. And there's another note that I'll share here in a second, that why this is extra special tonight for the chief and his agency. But I'd like to thank them for prioritizing this initiative and their dedication to as your community continues to expand and grow. So this is a unique one, so I needed to recognize it. And I just surprised the chief in the hallway with this, but there's kind of two awards that I have for him tonight. The first one is for completing the risk review, and the Knightdale Police Department is the only police department in the state that has currently received a CLIA accreditation, a state accreditation, and has successfully completed the risk review. I feel like that's worth noting and recognizing publicly. So Chief, the North Carolina League of Municipalities recognizes the Knightdale Police Department for successfully completing the law enforcement risk review, the state accreditation, and while maintaining your CLIA accreditation. This elite accomplishment reflects your agency's unwavering dedication to meeting the highest standards of professionalism, proactively serving your community, and implementing rigorous measures to minimize risk for both your officers and your citizens. Congratulations. The other one is kind of a snapshot of the risk review, so his hands are now full. So, you want to take a quick picture?
Yes, please. And let me just say, Mr. Graziano, thank you very much for that special recognition. And the truth is, as much as we commit to these processes, let's be clear, I don't do this alone. It takes a team, it takes a family of people to make this happen. And though I may sit in that position at the top of the organizational chart, it truly takes these other men and women there in their roles doing good work day in and day out to support me, to support our organization, to support this community and its members. So once again, thank you.
And I just wanted to echo thank you to all that put in efforts towards this, and for everyone else. This is something voluntary. This is not something that is required. This is not something that had to be done, but this is something that our staff voluntarily said we want to go through, and this takes a lot of work to qualify, and especially when you heard all three. So I just want to thank all of our officers, everyone that put in some efforts and some work continually, because I know several of these have annual things that are necessary and things that need to be done. So I appreciate you and your work to be able to do that, and just letting our community know that this is how dedicated our staff is, because they're willing to take on these extra requirements and these extra things and extra people coming in and asking questions and doing things so that they can say, how can we serve our community better? So we appreciate everything that you do in that space. Next is the oath of office for newly promoted police personnel. Chief Capson.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. Now, as you know, this is something that I'm really passionate about. Anytime that we get to introduce new personnel, promoted personnel, who are daily committing themselves to the noble work that we do and the service that we provide to the men and women of this community, it gets me really excited. And this evening, I have the pleasure of introducing several newly promoted members of the Knightdale Police Department. We go through a very rigorous promotional process, carefully coordinated between the police department and our friends in human resources. And this is one of the largest promotions that we have made in recent years. In fact, I think this is the second largest grouping of promotions that we have had during my tenure as police chief. And I'm very excited for these men and women to come forward and to retake their oath of office, an affirmation that they are continuing to commit to the ideals that hold our republic together, that they are willing to continue to commit to the service that is so desperately needed in a community. And so at this time, I am going to ask that these men and women come to the front along with their family members and join me for their ceremonial oath of office. And I believe, Mayor, you're going to help us out.
solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my appointed office.
the duties of my appointed office,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. Yep, we'll do all the officers. I usually don't do this one. It's going on. I'll just do You know the routine. Come on. We trying to get right here in the center. Scoot a little bit more in the back row. Not too much. Yep. All right. All right. This way. All right. This way. And a couple more. Perfect. Thank you.
As the mayor is making her way back to her seat, I'm going to ask that the newly promoted detectives and corporals remain here with me for just a moment. We have an additional presentation that we would like to make to each of you. Whether you are joining this agency from another agency, whether you have been with this agency since the beginning of your law enforcement career, you've made a commitment to our organizational culture, and you've heard me talk many times about the simplicity but the powerful importance of our 5 rules. Rules that guide our decisions, rules that shape the culture of our organization. And this plaque that we're going to present to you this evening is just a reminder that by agreeing to step into a role of detective, stepping into that role as a corporal, you are committing to serve at a higher level. And by committing to serve at a higher level, you now have a responsibility for championing and echoing those 5 rules and our core values to the other members of the department. You are now the ones that officers and members of the community look to set the example. And so I want to leave you with words that you've heard me share many, many times before, but powerful words. Everything is about our mission. Our mission is about other people. Always be loyal to that mission. Rule number 2. Never betray our core values. They are essential to our identity. They are the things that we hold most dear, and we owe it to the people that we serve to reflect those core values in everything that we do. Rule number 3, tell 100% of the truth 100% of the time. It's what keeps our reputation intact. It's what ensures that we are men and women of integrity. It's not always easy, not always popular, but it's always right. Rule number 4, never forget this oath. Never forget the importance of these words and what they mean. More importantly, who those words are for. And then finally, rule number 5, we are not an agency of perfection, and I can't set that expectation for you. But I do believe that the people that we serve and the people that you work alongside of do deserve our very best every day, day in and day out. And so as Deputy Chief Soto presents you with these promotional plaques, I want you to take a few moments to read the words, reflect on the words, and always remember your role, promoted to the position that you're in now, requires you to champion these 5 rules in a way that you never have before. I'm proud of all of you. I love all of you. We're expecting great things from you, and I know you won't let us down. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Capps, and congratulations again. We are so proud of you as well. Thank you for the work that you do and will continue to do going forward. Next is Small Business Month proclamation. Small businesses are the backbone of North Carolina's economy and are critical to creating jobs, stimulating economic growth, and driving innovation. The town of Knightdale's progress is driven by small business and entrepreneurs who want to start something, take risk, and work hard. The town of Knightdale supports and joins in the national effort to help small businesses do what they do best: grow their business, create jobs, and ensure that our local communities remain vibrant. Our Community Relations Department supports the business community by serving as an information hub to help businesses succeed and by partnering with the Rotary Club of Knightdale for networking and promotional opportunities. Small Business Month provides an opportunity to celebrate the contributions of small businesses and to raise awareness of the resources and support available to help them thrive. So therefore, I, Jessica Day, Mayor of the town of Knightdale, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim the month of May as Small Business Month in the town of Knightdale, and I encourage all citizens to support and celebrate the small businesses that are the cornerstone of our community. And we also have our Bike Month proclamation. So National Bike Month, sponsored by the League of American Bicyclists, was established in 1956 to showcase the many benefits of bicycling and to encourage people to start biking. Biking brings people together. It encourages discovery and fosters community engagement. It integrates physical activity into our daily routines, curbs our carbon footprint, and reduces air pollution. Last week, I issued a proclamation recognizing May as National Bike Month and encouraged citizens to celebrate National Bike to Work Week and National Bike to Work Day. Our very own Councilor Mark Swan even celebrated Bike Month by biking here this evening. I urge all citizens to celebrate National Bike Month by making time to ride their bicycles, to improve their health and their well-being, to help the environment, and to become more familiar with their community. The next item on the agenda is our public comment period. Is there anyone here tonight who wishes to address the council? If so, you may come forward at this time. If not, reports on citizen inquiries. Any reports on citizen inquiries from council? If not, then we'll move to the consent agenda. Any questions, comments, changes to the consent agenda, or motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Majority approves. Motion carries. We'll move to new business. Wake Transit Plan update. Mr. Brown.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. It has been almost a decade since the adoption of the first Wake Transit Plan and the completion of the first decade, which introduced the Wake Transit tax. I could spend all the time we have tonight just highlighting the benefits that the citizens of Knightdale and the region have gotten from that, from the conversion of the KRX to Go Raleigh Route 33, the extension to Wake Tech, and weekend service addition this year, the pedestrian improvements that we're able to make to give people access to the transit amenities, and to how that plan itself has influenced all of our future plans. But that's not what we're here to do tonight. Tonight, it's about what's next. What's the next decade going to hold for transit in the Triangle? How will we spend that transit tax as we move through the next decade? And how will we all get around as we move towards 2035? So with that, I want to introduce to you tonight Benjamin Howe, who is the Wake Transit Program Manager with the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, and he will give you an update on the future Wake Transit Plan update that is going on right now.
Good evening, Council. So, and thank you for the introduction, Jason. So we have been working over the last year and a half or so on what we call our Wake Transit Plan update. And this is updating the transit plan. It's a 10-year vision plan, updating it to go out to 2035. And so we have recently, at the beginning of May, released our 10-year investment strategy, our draft 10-year investment strategy that underlines that plan. And that's what I'll be presenting to you tonight. Starting with this presentation, I'll briefly go over an introduction overview of the plan for those that may not be as familiar with it as others. Then I'll move into the state of the plan, which is a lot of the work we did last summer, spring and summer, and then talk about our draft 10-year investment strategy for the next 10 years and then the next steps. So as Jason mentioned, the transit plan is almost 10 years old now. It was approved back in 2016, and we started collecting taxes in 2017 in April and began putting new service on the ground in August of 2017. The transit plan investments are organized around 4 big moves: connect regionally, connect all Wake County communities, create frequent, reliable urban mobility, and enhance access to transit. The transit plan is updated roughly every 4 years. It's generally in line, we update it generally in line with the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, which is the larger multimodal regional plan for this region. The plan establishes priorities and investment direction for a 10-year period, and it's always built on community and stakeholder input. The first plan was developed with significant engagement and participation throughout Wake County. Over 17,000 interactions with the public occurred over the roughly 1 year or so period that the plan was being developed. And it laid out a strategy to achieve 4 big moves with the following recommendations. One is a commuter rail between Durham and Garner, a bus rapid transit system consisting of 4 initial lines, north, south, east, and west, funding a new program called the Community Funding Areas Program, providing for connections from suburbs to Raleigh and Cary, providing for longer hours, more days of bus service, more frequent service, and more regional bus service. We updated the plan in 2021 to take it out to 2030. The initial plan was 2017 to 2027, and so the first update took it out just an additional 3 years. We had, again, close to 12,000 interactions even during COVID. As you can see on the screen there, a lot of them were online. And that update, that first update, really was to look at the cost assumptions and look at the projects and move everything out 3 years, move the plan vision out 3 years and adjust any necessary cost assumptions. So what happened in that plan update is we continued to advance commuter rail, even though we had started to see that it was going to have a higher cost and potentially lower federal participation. We continued to advance bus rapid transit, the 4 original corridors, and we also added in 2 expansions, one to Research Triangle Park and one down to Garner. We also looked at expanding the commuter rail service down in towards Clayton, and expanded the bus rapid transit service from Garner down to Clayton, and then we continued investment in all of our other projects and programs. The Wake Transit Plan is ambitious and takes on and has taken on and continues to take on several major projects at a time, and all these projects require trade-offs. Looking at commuter rail, bus rapid transit, funding new vehicles with clean fuel technology, transit centers, bus stops, regional fare systems, and new technology, just to name a few. So I'll close this section by showing you these 2 maps. The map on the left of the screen is a 2020 composite demand map. The darker the red, the more higher demand for transit. And as you can see on the right, that is our 2040 composite demand map. And as you can see, those reds get even darker and really start to lay out some corridors where heavier investment in transit is both desired and needed. So I'll end this overview section with saying that the Wake Transit Plan revenues have been consistently strong. We've raised around $750 million as of 2023, and we expect to raise another $700 million to $1 billion over the next 10 years. And so we, on the screen there is the State of the Plan document that we released last spring. And with that public engagement period around that State of the Plan, we started asking the Wake County citizens, what are your transit priorities for the next 10 years? So we've completed 2 phases of public engagement to date. The first phase was last spring, focused around the State of the Plan, where we really talked to the community and asked the community to identify their priorities for us. And we did that through an online survey where folks could design their own transit system. They were given a budget and a number of transit system improvements and asked to pick which ones they wanted to fund. And we took that information and then moved into phase 2, where we really focused down onto 3 questions. One, confirm with the community that they are in agreement that we postpone the commuter rail and instead invest in a more regional rail idea, which I'll talk about more in a moment. And also begin to develop a BRT system, bus rapid transit line between Raleigh and Durham to meet those regional commuter needs. And then whether to focus on serving more people or serving more places first with our investment. It was not an either or question, but really tried to get to what should we focus on first in the 10 years. And again, both phases provided insight into preferences and priorities, just a little bit different way. So that phase 1 survey, what we heard was that regional connections are important regardless of mode, and that rail projects, and especially commuter rail, continue to be prioritized. When we further looked at those results and split them out between transit riders and non-transit riders, we found that transit riders want better bus service, more frequency, longer hours. They're less interested in commuter rail, but they still care about regional service. The non-transit riders still cared about rail at the time, as of right now, and under our current plan, still commuter rail, and they also cared about more regional service. So for that phase 2, we had an online survey where we focused on 3 questions that I already mentioned. We had held 24 pop-ups throughout the county, and also 5 local partner presentations. We had advertisements through social media with our Hispanic partners, through KPASA Media, through rider app pushes. We had focus groups with mobility human service providers, ADA riders, educational institutions, transit riders, and then we also held our stakeholder meeting, which Councilmember Morgan, I believe you attended and participated in that. So the first question we asked the public and we talked to the public about was the regional rail question. And this was really about that, we told the public and we recognized that rail service is important in Wake County, and up to this point, that's been commuter rail. What we have found out over the last few years with feasibility studies and everything else is that commuter rail is going to be very expensive. We're going to have less federal participation than we expected, and it's going to take a lot longer to put in place. So with this plan, we are proposing to instead move to this regional rail investment idea, which would really invest in the existing and planned rail services that are already in the area. That includes the Amtrak, the Piedmont Carolinian services that are currently running through the middle of the county, as well as the future S-Line service that is, I believe, supposed to start around 2030 going up to Wake Forest. And so we had 76% of the public agreed with that approach. Next, we asked them about connecting Raleigh and Durham with bus rapid transit, since we were no longer going to have that commuter rail investment. 70% of the public agreed with that approach. We did find there were a lot of questions about how that could be done and how it would be done, so we realized we need to do some more education, provide more information about bus rapid transit, and explain exactly how that would work along I-40. And as you can see there, we heard through some pop-ups that there were concerns that the bus rapid transit wouldn't solve the Raleigh-Durham problem. We think it will. And then finally, we talked about the serving more places, more people or serving more places first. As you can see there, it was a slight edge to serving more places. However, when we looked at it, transit riders versus non-transit riders wanted us to serve more people. So with that, this investment strategy, we try and walk that line as best as possible to stay true to that almost 50-50 split. So in our 10-year investment strategy, we are projecting revenue over the next 10 years of approximately $3.3 billion. As you can see on this chart, it's roughly, the majority of the revenue comes from half-cent sales tax, federal funds, and long-term bond proceeds. And that's 90% of the funds come from those three sources, while the remaining 10% equals about $330 million. We do recognize and are continuing to work through potential challenges with two funding assumptions, two revenue assumptions we have. One is vehicle tax revenue and one is Wake Transit fare box revenue. We are working through the fare box revenue question over this summer and into this fall through our Transit Planning Advisory Committee, the staff level technical committee. We hope to have that question settled. That's really centered around the fact that we were all of our services were fare-free throughout the COVID pandemic, and we now have two providers that have gone back to charging fares, one that is not. So we need to figure out how to bring those fares back into Wake Transit while still being equitable between the one provider that doesn't charge fares and the two that do. The vehicle tax revenue is a question that's currently being discussed and worked on through the lead agencies. The three lead agencies for the program are CAMPO, Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, Go Triangle, which is the regional transit provider, and Wake County. There's been some disagreement about that vehicle tax revenue and how it should be dispersed through the transit plan, so we're working through that. We are hoping to have that question answered this fall before adoption of the plan, but as of right now, we are including that funding in the plan. So to finish up on the revenues, as mentioned before, we have about $3.3 billion expected revenues. Roughly $1.8 billion of that is already committed for projects that have been programmed and or funded. So we have about $1.5 billion left to spend on brand new projects. So as we began developing the investment strategy, we used the transit priorities that were identified through the community and public engagement, and to select the projects, programs, and services. We estimated cost of those projects, programs, services, and ensured that we confirmed the revenues that we would have available that we could pay for that. And then we use that to develop the strategy, and this strategy will guide the transit plan that will come out later this summer. And that transit plan will also outline some outcomes and expected results really around improving and expanding the number of Wake County citizens that will be within a certain distance of transit, expanding the number of jobs that will be within transit in Wake County. So again, we have a balanced investment strategy with the projects, the cost of the projects equaling the estimated revenues. So as I mentioned, we have our four big moves, and then we took our community and stakeholder priorities that we heard through the first two phases of engagement and really put our investment priorities under these three big buckets that also fall into the four big moves. And that is investing in the regional network, serving more people, and serving more places. We plan to invest in the regional network by building on our core BRT network, including adding the I-40 corridor, supporting that regional rail network, strengthening connections to Raleigh and Cary, and also strengthening connections town to town. We want to serve more people by continuing to invest and expand our frequent bus network, and serve more places by investing in regional transit infrastructure, strengthening those connections around the county, and investing in the community funding area program. So these next few slides are what we call our big move maps. This first one is the Connect the Region map. This shows how we plan to connect the region with this investment strategy. It is what we have endearingly called our DNA map. The primary change in this time around this map from the previous ones is that we no longer show the commuter rail. Instead, we show the proposed rail investment, and we included the S-line, potential S-line investment, or the planned S-line investments up to Wake Forest, potential S-line investments down towards Apex, as well as the new I-40 BRT. Next is our Connect All Communities, and on this map you can see how we propose to do that. Providing regional connections coming out of Raleigh and Cary, and trying to connect towns in the eastern, southern, western, and northern parts of the county. The clear circles that you see on there are potential community transportation hubs. We are proposing to build up to 5 of those. With this plan, we are not identifying the locations of those. We will be working on that over the next few years to identify the locations. So at this point, we're saying any of the municipalities outside of Raleigh and Cary may qualify for a community transportation hub. Next, we have our frequent and reliable urban mobility. On this map, you can see the dark red lines is the BRT network that we hope to have in place by 2035. The solid black lines is the existing frequent bus network that we have now, which is frequent bus. We define our frequent bus network as operating 15-minute frequencies all day during the week, 15 to 30-minute frequencies on the weekends. And then the dotted black lines you see on the map are the potential expansion of that frequent network. Currently, we are at around 100 miles of frequent network in Wake County. By the end of this 10 years, we plan to triple that to 300 miles. And then finally, we have our enhanced access to transit big move, which is focused around the community funding area, as well as funding other bus stop related infrastructure for bus stops, sidewalks, and crosswalks related to bus stops. Going a little bit more in depth in the big moves for the regional network, again, we're proposing this rail ready projects. We have set aside approximately $250 million over the 10 years to fund improvements or fund investments in the regional rail network. There is currently a regional rail implementation plan that is underway by Campo and our partner MPO for the Durham, Chapel Hill, Carborough area, Triangle West. That plan is expected to be completed in June, and we hope to be able to use that plan to guide some of our investments. Right now, our potential investments, we're looking at potential investments in stations, track improvements, or even rail service. For the BRT network, again, we have our core network, which we are now, thanks to all the work that Raleigh has done over the last several years, we know approximately where those networks are. One is the New Bern Avenue corridor. That project is, we're hoping to be able to go under construction here within the next couple months or so. Then we have the Southern corridor, which follows roughly the Wilmington Street corridor down towards Garner. Then we have the Western corridor, which would follow Western Boulevard out of downtown Raleigh to Cary. And then the Northern corridor, which is generally along the Capitol Boulevard corridor. That Northern corridor, with this plan, we are actually extending that and adding 2 endpoints to that. One section will go to Midtown, the North Hills area, and then the other section would go to Triangle Town Center on Capitol Boulevard. We also have our BRT extensions from Cary to RTP and Garner to Clayton. We have the development of our new BRT corridor along I-40 to the Triangle Mobility Hub. And then we have what we're calling our next gen corridors, and we have funding in the next 10 years to begin studying 5 to 6 of those corridors. One of the we have not identified which corridors we will study. We have a number of bus rapid transit corridors identified in longer range plans that we'll choose from. But one of those corridors is a potential extension of the New Bern corridor out towards Knightdale. So we may very well study that over the next 10 years. Then for serving more people, we want to expand our frequent bus service. We're planning to add at least one new frequent route each year, with a total of 13 added over the 10-year period. We also are setting aside 5% contingency for unanticipated projects, 15% set aside for required ADA services that correspond to the fixed route services, funding expansion vehicles and replacement vehicles, setting aside funding for bus stop sidewalks, crosswalks, new connection points where frequent routes intersect, and setting aside money to begin studying potential need for a new or expanded maintenance facility depending with all the expansion of the frequent bus network. Finally, serving more places, we want to increase hours and days of existing regional bus routes and add 6 new regional routes, including one that would go from Knightdale here to Crabtree area in Raleigh. And we would also add a new town-to-town route between Rollsville and Wake Forest, and we would provide service to commuter service to the Amazon facility in Garner from Raleigh. We also would invest again in those community transportation facilities or hubs. We are increasing our investment in the community funding area. At the time all this was put out, we were planning for a $40 million investment. We've analyzed that a little bit more, and we're actually going to likely increase that to $60 million, which is a tripling of the investment that's currently planned. And then we would also set aside money for a potential airport interchange facility that could be served by that bus rapid transit route. You can see here on this chart the proposed investment in bus service. By 2035, we are looking to be spending over $120 million a year in bus service between bus service between existing frequent route, new frequent route, and BRT. So just to wrap up, next steps. Here you can see all the pop-ups and presentations we've been given throughout the county over the last 2 weeks or so, 2 to 3 weeks, and we'll be wrapping up by the end of this month. It's about 17 on here with a number of presentations throughout the county. So as I mentioned, we're currently in a public engagement phase right now through the end of May. We will have a core technical team which consists of staff members from throughout the county and transit agencies that will meet in June, and then we will have our final draft plan ready by the end of June, and then we'll use the summer to review that with our technical partners, and then have a public engagement period on that draft plan early in the fall with hopefully adoption a little bit later in the fall. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I did want to note all of you should have an executive summary at your place, which outlines a lot of what I just presented. I do want to note on the back side of that executive summary is our website for the project. We have about another week or so, week and a half left in our public engagement period. For those that are in the room or maybe listening online, it is publicinput.com/Wake Transit 2035. You can go to that website. You can view all this information. You can provide feedback to us. I do want to note we have what we call a story map that is linked on that website, where you can actually use a slider on a map to see the current investments versus where we'll be in 2035 to really see the amount of increased bus service we're planning. We also have 3 companion documents that are available on that website for review that will be adopted with that transit plan update. They are the community funding area program management plan, our prioritization policy for transit projects, as well as new microtransit guidelines. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any questions?
I'll just ask about the regional rail. Are you focused more on commuting for work, or are you looking at evenings and later nights?
I think we haven't really defined that yet. So the problem, one of the problems we identified with commuter rail is that it was going to be very expensive. When we first identified it in the original transit plan, we estimated it to cost around $1.5 billion. That cost ballooned to $3 to $4 billion. We also expected originally 50% federal participation. We've heard that that's not going to happen. So we've moved away from that. That original commuter rail idea, the best service we were looking at would have been what they call 8282. 8 trips in the morning, 2 trips midday, 8 trips in the evening, 2 trips late night. So if we continue thinking about service that way, then I could see there be potential for investing in service outside of those peak commute times. But again, we just haven't really decided that yet. So, all right.
What's the best way, if we have additional comments after sort of looking through this, should we sort of pass that back through you, Mr. Howell, or maybe Mr. Brown, or how?
Yeah, you can do it a number of ways. You're certainly welcome to email me or work with Jason to get comments submitted. If you wanted to do a formal comment on behalf of the town, you can also go to the website and submit comments directly through there. We do have some open comment boxes there.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here and sharing this information with us.
Thank you.
Next is Knightdale, North Carolina State Stormwater Pilot Project. Mr. Button.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Really excited to have the opportunity to present to you just really for informational purposes tonight, a project that we have in place. You know, as you know, we're doing a lot of renovations across the street, got a large addition going on to that building. Part of that addition triggered additional stormwater measures that were not required when that building was built to begin with. And, you know, we have some space limitations, we have some size limitations. And so we said we want to do something different. We don't want to do another pond. We want to try to figure out something that's unique and something that is something that's different. So our stormwater staff got together and we looked into the NEST program that Diener has. And so what NEST is NEST is new and emerging stormwater technologies. All right? And so these are new devices that are being brought to market, and they are being tested through university partnership. And so we actually got involved with that partnership, and I'm happy to report that we are part of that program now. This is a partnership between Oldcastle, who is the manufacturer of this product, North Carolina Diener, and then the North Carolina Stormwater Engineering Group, which is their graduate program. So what we're actually going to be putting in over there is called the PERC Media Filtration Kit, tank. And so this is a pretty unique product in that not only does it treat sediment, but it also goes several steps further and looks at metals, nutrients, all kinds of phosphorus, solids, and then other trash and debris that's in there. So this is much beyond just detention and release. This is detention, filtering, and release. And so it's a control flow bypass for this tank. The service intervals on it are probably around 5 years, so we'll have to change that filter media out every 5 years. But we're taking a lot more out of the water and really producing a very clean byproduct from everything that runs off that building, which could be anything from police car antifreeze and oil to bird droppings to anything that creates, again, something that will damage the water system. The installation is pretty simple, and it will be monitored by Oldcastle and NC State. But essentially, this tank goes in the ground. You set a top slab on top of it. You have some risers to access it. And then the unique part about this is, as well, is you can park over it, right? So this is a great technology for folks that want to conserve limited space, limited parking. It provides more expansion opportunities for that. NC State will be present during all of it to record all of the details of it going in, because ultimately NC State will be responsible for reporting the results back to Diener. And that's the next piece of it there. The PERC filter monitoring, they're going to monitor it for somewhere between 18 to 24 months. They will install some automated monitoring devices into that tank. They'll come out probably once a quarter to check those devices, and it will be their graduate student program, so it'll be really a great opportunity to work together with NC State on this. Now you say, Mr. Bunton, this is unproven technology. Why would we be putting it into a facility that we must have online? Well, we wouldn't be this far in the process if we weren't pretty sure this is going to get passed. And to prove that, we have several other states that's already approved this, including several places in California, which has the strictest guidelines in the United States. So very confident about its acceptance through, and it'll become part of Diener's standard offerings once it's through the process. So again, really excited about it. You know, once it's all said and done, between this and the car wash filtering that we'll be doing as well over there, it really speaks to the two things that, you know, are important to me and important to you, which is our organizational excellence and our sustainability. And these tie back to our priority values for the town. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But I'm really excited about it. It's going to be fun. No questions? Okay.
Any questions,
Thanks.
comments? Mr. Button, I think we have questions.
Sorry.
So really cool technology. Looking at how other states have already approved, or it has been sort of a proven technology in other areas, still in pilot format here. If it was something that actually passed our sniff test, what does it look like from a costing standpoint if it were to be looked at or being implemented from a private sector capacity?
So it is more expensive than a pond. It is probably, and Old Castle was hesitant to kind of quantify this because it really depends on the area that's being drained, the size of the tank. There's just a lot of things to consider in there. But it is probably somewhere between 30 and 50% more than the cost of a pond. But what you get back is a lot more parking. I mean, this is a lot more usable land that you can get back. And, you know, if more technologies like this become approved, then, you know, that's something that I think we should tout, honestly, because parking is an issue. And a lot of these places are very tight. So I think this is a great opportunity to kind of demonstrate that.
Yeah, I'll just echo, thank you for looking into this, because I say the same thing. You know, ponds, they're effective. They sort of, you know, they meet the minimum permit requirement, but it could be used for parking. You know, there's no trees where a pond is located, and then we have to go clear trees somewhere else to actually build another parking area. So I think it actually can go a long way towards sort of our sustainability goals. So thank you. I'm sure it's through some of your connections that you were able to sort of get the ball rolling on this. So thank you so much for that.
Dr. McLaughlin over at NC State's a great guy. I've known him for 15 years, and I was one of the first attendees of his sediment and erosion control program when he first started doing it over at NC State. So he's a great partner. Old Castle has been very helpful with this, and, you know, I should say that they are giving us the device. So we saved a little money in the construction here because they are giving us the device in exchange for being able to monitor it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for asking the question, thinking creatively. Sounds exciting as well. So next, advisory board and committee reports. Any advisory board, committee reports? If not, we do have closed session this evening. So may I have a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Majority approves. Motion carries. Thank you all for joining us this evening. We appreciate you being here. Have a good rest of your evening. We'll take a few minutes and then we'll be going into closed session.